बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम नहमदुहु व नस्तईनुहु व नस्तगफिरुहु अम्मा बाद रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वाहलुल लिसानी यफ्क़हू क़ौली. Today's talk, I want to look at this multi-faith relationship and civilization building in India's Muslim state and societies. So particularly in this very volatile issue and very needed in particularly Indian subcontinent and for the Muslim world too. So we have to discuss it. I want to discuss about 5 points because only short time it is longer. Number one, I will go to the spread of Islam in India. Second part, the Hindustan or India in the eyes of Muslim rulers and intellectuals, how they view. Third, translation of Sanskrit books. I will tell that why I put it. And the fourth is benign behavior of Muslim towards the non-Muslim. And the fifth part, the most important is how tolerance of among the Muslim and non-Muslim. Because there is many areas where the Muslim dominated and many areas where the non-Muslim, but how they tolerate it. And then the Muslim treatment with the non-Muslim subject and the non-Muslim with the Muslims. So these are the major issues that we want to discuss in this way. So now, if you look at before venturing into the historical analysis of the multi-religious collaboration and civilization of building in India under the Muslims, it is important to understand Islam itself, which is derived from the root salam or salam, meaning peace and submission to the will of the Creator, in order to seek everlasting peace and serenity. In this way, you look at the most important, just I want to go short little bit, introductory part. Islam arrived in India before long dawn the Muslim political power, particularly, and even this pre-political stage, it's made a significant impact on the life of the local people. Traders of the Arabian Peninsula, they came to know their fairness, righteousness among the port of India and beyond long. Before the region of Sindh came the gateway of Islamic civilization in India, Islam already introduced in South India before the northern part of India. In this way, throughout the subcontinent, the socio-cultural history of the region had always been characterized by an incredible multicultural society, divided into various groups belonging to diverse caste and creed. The most important part, the North India, as well as the South, if we go through, so we find that arrival of Muhammad bin Qasim in the fertile Indus Valley region was seen as a epochal fundamental change in the indigenous part of Indian people. In this way, we find Islam was already introduced in Persian areas and through which they came to Indian part. It's okay. That was the one of the major issues where the Muslims built their faith and they tried to expand their life and mix with the local people. That is most of the Quranic ayah here I quoted, but this is the here. The Muslims of Malabar gained much social prominence and status, and they were allowed to be seated with the Namrudri Brahmin, like the Muslims had their higher station equally to them, or they gave no respect. The Muslim Imam, locally called Thangal, were allowed to be seated in a palanquin beside the ruler of Jamhuri. The importance of the India may be seen to a query by the Caliph as Umar regarding India. There's three words there in the query. The first thing, its river of full of pearls, its mountain of ruby, and its trees are perfume. These are the important, these 3 points. That was how they categorized India in the eyes of the Arab. In this way, we find there was no definite information regarding any Muslim settlement in northern India prior to the Muslim conquest of Sindh. From the geographical point of view, the region of Sindh served as a gateway of Islamic political incursion into India and a conduit of immigration of many communities, including Muslim ones. Muhammad bin Qasim al-Saqfi, the celebrated conqueror of Sindh, was instrumental in establishing initial contact of Islam with India from the north, making it possible for the local people to discover the Muslim civilization or Muslim contact. Al-Barazili, the famous historian, he records the conversion of a Hindu Raja in North India, Asifan, somewhere in the area of modern Punjab, as a result of distress with the Hindu belief and the persuasion of Muslim traders operating in his territory. Buzurg bin Shahriyar recorded that another local king named Mahruk bin Layak, this is the earliest Layak, whose kingdom was situated between Upper and Lower Kashmir, wrote to Abdullah bin Umar Abdul Aziz al-Habbari. This is a local dynasty, but Arab, which ruled in Sindh, the Bar dynasty. The ruler of Mansura in the year 883, requesting him to explain the tenets of Islam to him in the local language. So in this way, this information is unique because we find the earliest translation of Quran in any Indian language, which is recorded. Might be some other, we don't know. Al-Balazri noted that policy of toleration established by Muhammad bin Qasim, who said, the Hindus and Buddhists temples shall be unto us like the churches of the Christians and synagogues of the Jews and the fire temple of the magicians. So this one the Muslim followed. This is a full debate. Muslim followed the Hindus or Buddhists like Shibha al-Kitab. Shibha al-Kitab, that the status of Zimmis was originally given to the people of the book, such as Zoroastrians and the Berber were given the status of Mushabbih al-Kitab. Muhammad bin Qasim considered Buddhists and Hindus to be equal to al-Kitab, protected minorities who paid jizya in exchange, for example, from military service and a large measures of religious freedom, as well as general freedom from the conduct their business and regulate their own affairs. So this is the Islam has given, like other places, India also, the Muslim conqueror Muhammad bin Qasim, who assigned these things. For all practical purposes, there was no difference in the status of the two, except that the Muslims are permitted to marry the women of the people of the book and eat the meat slaughtered in accordance with their religious rites, which is not allowed in the case of the Mushabbih al-Kitab, like Indians. When the issue of the status of the Hindus in Islamic Sharia was encountered in Sindh, Muhammad bin Qasim empathetically conferred on them the status of Mushabbih al-Kitab, which was practically reflected in his tolerance of the famous temple of the sun in Multan, which he left unmolested, building a separate mosque nearby, and his successor followed the practice. So this is one of the most important examples. Although this temple was later destroyed by the Shias, Mahmud of Ghazna, look at another part, when the Arab lost their power. So Mahmud of Ghazna from Afghanistan, after him underwent the Islamization of a large part of northwestern India, took place, regarding themselves as a helpers of the central authority, not as a formal subordinate to it. They nevertheless sacked a few temples and mustered 3 divisions of Hindu soldiers in the Ghaznawide army, each led by a Hindu general, the name Sundar, Nath, and Tilak. These are very much important that how Muslims trust their non-Muslim subjects. While the Mahmud sacked the city of Multan and killed the heretics, these were, as the term implies, renegade Muslims and not Hindus and other non-Muslims. So that was the case of the Mahmud, followed by Arab. The Arab came and then after that Mahmud. Now we find the Minhaj Siraj, one of the famous Muslim scholars. Of course, they are all from Central Asia. His book, Tabaqat Nasri, who completed towards 60, recorded that Sultan Shamsuddin al-Tutmish considered whether to implement a more austere interpretation of Sharia, whereby the Hindus would be treated as kafir, per se, unlike the more accommodating classification of Mushabbah and Kitab, seeking to raise revenues by evoking the jizya. However, this was avoided because of the Council of Grand Wazir, Nizamul Junaidi, because the Muslims were numerically a small minority and adopting a more hardline position would be tantamount to undertaking this suicidal course. If Muslims have taken this hard course, so there is maybe a few percent only in India. So it's difficult for them to survive. Thus, the administration was quite conscious of the necessity pursuing policies which should not result into military backlash. The famous Sufi Sheikh Nizamuddin Awliya, of course, his shrine in Delhi still is there. While watching the Hindus, this is the important part, Hindu women for going to Yamuna River in Delhi for some religious rituals is said to have observed Har Qaum Ras Rahe Dine wa Qibla Gahe. This is the Persian. Every people have a right, path, religion, and place for worship. Celebrating religiously pluralistic tradition and the possibility of peaceful coexistence. This is the Muslims' behavior, how they treated their non-Muslim subjects. This became a famous motto to which Amir Khusro, a famous 13th to 14th century poet and also a murid, disciple of Shaykh Nizamuddin Awliya, added, Man qibla ras kardan as janibe kashkulah. I have found my qibla towards the one who wear the every cap. Here meaning his own peer, Shaykh Nizamuddin Awliya. It means he looked forward the actions of Nizamuddin Awliya, then his followers will follow. The electric nature of Islam, the electric nature of Islam in India and Indian religious philosophy generally is reflected in the declaration of Bodhan. This is a very famous case. Listen, Bodhan, a Brahman from Jaunpur district in UP or Uttar Pradesh under Sharqi dynasty, has proclaimed, this is Islam Haqqas, this is also Persian, Islam Haqqas Waniz Dinema Durustas. Islam is a true religion, but at the same time, my religion is also correct, alluding to accommodation, adjustment, and the possibility of coexistence in a religiously pluralistic society. Hence, it was quite unfortunate, this is the important part, it was quite unfortunate that the narrow-minded theologians of the court of Ibrahim Shah were successful in obtaining a decree for the institution of the above-mentioned Brahmin for his supposed act of irtidad. Their argument was that the moment he uttered that Islam haqqas, he became a Muslim. And the very moment he said, these dinema drusa, it means he became an apostate. Hence he declared institution was, because he said that my religion is also correct. So at that time, the religion said that he became Murtad because he left Islam. So nowadays, hence, they obtain a degree or decree from the theologians for his exclusion because he did for Irtidal. So now, the above example refer to the perspective of the serving Prime Minister of the Sultan, the voice of the one of the major figure of the Indian mystic tradition, and the response of the Indian priestly class to these efforts, all of them indicate that a solid foundation existed for interfaith harmony and peaceful coexistence between the principal committees of the Indian subcontinent. It was this solid bedrock that enabled the Mughal Emperor Akbar to take his spiritual journey related to the philosophy of Ibn Arabi, Wahdatul Wujud, unity of existence, and Shahabuddin Yahya bin Hafs Maktul, Ishraqi illumination philosophy, a Sufi philosophy that drew upon Zoroastrian and Platonic ideas. So India, these things become popularized. The Mughals are celebrated as the most illustrious Muslim dynasty of India, being great warriors, administrators, and scholars, and the apogee of the native civilization prior to the advent of Western imperialism. The Tibetan Emperor Akbar caused great concern among Orthodox Muslims with their syncretic interpretations, habits, and belief that glorified in the belief and practice of numerous religious philosophies. The composite multi-faith culture evolved gradually, and the people came to terms with all forms of diversity within the society. There is a need to understand and contextualize the individual basis for helping in the development and evolution of such a state of mind, whereby elite trends percolated down the lower rungs of the society. It became essentially an exercise to understand the intellectual moment during medieval times in this region among elites and how they were experienced by other segments of the society, including the leaders and followers of other religious and popular movement. From the advent of Turkish rule in India in early 11th century, two opposing trends in the higher equivalence of society are quite noticeable. What would be now here you find the translation of Turkish, Arabic and Persian books. Sanskrit book into this. Ruknuddin Samarkandi, who was appointed Qazi of Lucknowti for Bengal, which is an old name, by Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khalji. He was the first conqueror of Bengal in 1203. He learned Sanskrit in Bengal from a local yogi in the district and subsequently rendered Amrit Kund into Persian. A Sanskrit work on yoga entitled Hawzul Hayat. It means the Persian title is Hawzul Hayat, assisted by Bhoj, a local Brahmin. He further rendered this book into Arabic entitled Mirat al-Mani fi Idra al-Alami Insani. This was a pioneering effort in opening the traditionally hidden and sacerdotal knowledge of tradition of India to the outside world. Because through these translations, the Indian sacred knowledge was drawn out to the other part of the world, particularly Muslim and later to the Europe and other areas. Muhammad Ghaus Shattari, this is also famous Sufi Sheikh, rendered it again in third time into Persian entitled Bahrul Hayat. Persian, first time Hawzul Hayat, second time in Persian Bahrul Hayat, two different scholars. Malik Shamsuddin Ibrahim Hassan Abu Raja, the governor of Gujarat, recognized scholars who wrote an anonymous Persian work on music. Not Muslim goes only the yoga or other, but also music. Munitul Munia, Laser of the Desire. Laser of Desire, the earliest known Persian work on Indian music, composed in Gujarat in 1375. It was already republished in Aligarh after this work. It was written at the request of the governor of Gujarat, Malik Shamsuddin Ibrahim Hassan Abu Raja. The author utilized many classical Indian books on music like Bharata, Sangeet, Ratnakara, Sangeet Ratnavali, Sangeet Vinod, Sangeet Mudra, and Santanat and Naga Orna. So these are the Indian music, classical music. Another important part of this translation, Masjid Ali Nia Bua Abua, a great intellectual and Wazir, the minister of the Sultan Sikandar Lodi in 16th century, before the Mughals. He sponsored the translation of significant Sanskrit works into Persian. Nia Bagua encouraged Umar bin Yahya al-Kabuli to compile a voluminous work on classical Indian music entitled Lahjat Sikandar Shahi, a medical book on medicine. He consulted the Indian classical work like Sangeet Ratnakar, Sangeet Sangara, Bharat, Sudha Nidhi, Sangeet Samsaya, Sangeet Kalpataro, and Sangeet Matanga. Asim Shoaib Abdusi compiled a dictionary Mujam al-Ajam under the patronage of Daud Khan and Afghan noble of Sikandar Lodi. So it means you find that the Muslim intellectual and as well as the administrator, they encourage for the Indian works or translation, they try to get embedded. The most importantly, you find the Sultan Firuz Shah Tughlaq, 14th century ruler, and Tughlaq dynasty, the second ruler of Tughlaq dynasty. A Sanskrit book on astronomy was translated into Persian entitled Dalail-e Firoz Shahi, the demonstration of King Firoz Shah. Mia Bagua, the Vizier and the Sadr of Sikandar Lodi, had particular interest in the field of Ilmul-Tib, medicine. That was the medicine, that was the music. But here Ilmul-Tib medicine and compiled the Tib Sikandar Shahi. Bagua, after gaining mastery over Sanskrit, he studied the Ayurvedic system of medicine, which he combined with the Unani, the Greco-Arabic medicine. Produced Madani Shifa Sikandar Shahi, based on different Sanskrit classes like Jades, Bharat, Ras, Ratnako, and Sunavidar, and Chintama as a source of material. So these are the Ayurvedic books or ancient Indian classic books, mixed with the Greco-Arabic books, and then he produced a new book that was, he gave the title Tib Sikandar Shahi, because the ruler name Sikandar, Sultan Sikandar. Mughal Emperor Akbar provided a platform for translation of the sacred books of other religions as well as the Islamic sacred and historic books. Among such efforts, the translation project of Hindu sacred epics such as the Mahabharata and the Ramayana into Persian. The most important part you find, Mullah Abdul Qadir Badayuni, a courtier of Akbar, a courtier, very famous. The book is Tarikh Mutafid Tarikh, very famous. Mullah Masih Panapati translated the Sanskrit text of Ramayana into Persian and made a golden illustration of the entire episode. The emperor paid to the artist a huge sum, 4 million rupees, for the production of the Ghazb-Nama. Ghazb is fighting Israel, but the book is Mahabharata, Sanskrit book. Akbar's mother, Hamida Banu Begum, ordered for the painting of Ramayana, made another illustrations of the Hindu epics. So Muslims are more large-hearted, and they never think about that. They spend a lot of money to preserve the Indian books. During Humayun's reign, Humayun was the father of Akbar. Humayun raised Sanskrit word Desha, a collection of fables by Vishnu Sharma, was translated into Persian by Tajuddin Mufti, entitled Mufri al-Qulub, and dedicated to Emperor Humayun. Prince Dara Shikoh, this is the son of Shah Jahan, or the brother of Aurangzeb, youngest, translated Upanishad. He himself translated Upanishad into Persian, called Sir-e-Akbar, Persian title. And other book, Majma'ul Bahrain, The Mingling of Two Oceans, an independent work devoted to discovering the affinities between Vedantic and Sufi perception of the ultimate truth, Vedantic and Sufi truth. He believed that what is referred to in the Quran as Kitab al-Maknoon, the hidden book, is actually the Upanishad. This is his belief, not ours. His belief. The Sufi poet Sarmad and Mirza Mazhar Jan Janat are examples of the religious harmony and peaceful coexistence. The pragmatic and practical rationalists and the orthodox scholars who preferred to move strictly along with the textual interpretation, who were not ready to take into account any cognizance of the new emerging situation and social development. Thus, they developed non-accommodative and exclusivist approach. This struggle continued throughout, and we find important dialogue articulating the 2 points of view. However, justice remained a central priority for both views as an Islamic requirement in its own right, and to ensure social stability in society. Therefore, the concept like al-mulk wa yakbi min al-kufr wa la yakbi min al-zulm. The realm cannot survive with heresy, but it won't survive with oppression. This is a very famous motto, and Ibn Taymiyyah also spoke about this. Wrote, became the talking point of the Indian scholars, including Prince and the scholars. The pragmatic practical relationship and the orthodox scholars who preferred to move strictly along the textual and the underlying principle of both these diametrically opposed view, and that acceptance of the idea of the multiplicity of the society alongside the multiplicity of religious traditions, there lies another related theme: how to understand or adjust the pre-existing cultural practice, norms and traditions in society. The purists consider the pre-existing practices to be unworthy and of an adjustment, while the pragmatic incorporation some of these cultural practices into the ritualistic, and even in their formal ritualistic celebration. The ideological and the intellectual took a position on some of these aspects, and their ideas were received by the society as well. Leaders of the various segments of society interpreted some of these aspects in their own way. They adapted the local dialects to propagate the idea which were confined in the language of the ruling elite in this Persian. Qutbuddin Samarkandi, who was appointed Qazi of Lucknowti again Bengal, by Muhammad Bakhtiar Khalji, learned Sanjeev Bengal. It is one in the slides, I think, the proper way. So this is somehow, if we find the short part, but I have other part. So this is the, as a whole broad picture, that how Muslim try to accommodate in the society. If the hardliner, difficult to survive. So in this way, they try to multi-cultural society accommodated it. And I have given for two cases, one of the Bodhan who was executed or executed because of he said that Islam hakas, but these Madin Durustas. So it means they said that they interpreted the wrong way, and this is the un-Islamic practice they kill unnecessarily that Hindu priest or Brahmin. So that was the one point. On the other point, later these days in Akbar's time, when the Mughal king Akbar was so liberal, perhaps many of them, they talked about the liberal attitude of Akbar because of the quarrel of the ulama of different school of thought, Shia Sunni and other Sufistic group. They fought in the court. Akbar made a hall where they discuss Thursday evening, and huge, and sometimes they throw sleepers to each other and they abuse. Akbar was fed up that after that he changed this all, and most of them, the non-believers or the Muslims, those are secular. They have taken the lead, and Akbar's mind was polluted, and he was very close due to the marriage with the Hindu princess and with the, like Abul Fazl and other scholars, those are the liberal attitude. Akbar's mind completely changed. That's why he gave at that time more leverage to the Hindus, Hindu chief, and even if Mullah Abdul Qadir Badaini wrote in his book that, and Sheikh Ahmad Sarindi, Sheikh Ahmad Sarindi, is the period of Sheikh Ahmad Sarindi, he wrote many letters at that time to reform the society because Hindus were so bold that sometimes they destroy the mosque and they force Muslims, even during the Ramadan, did not practice the Eid. And they forced them, some there was a Muslim and many mosques Azan with and for. So these things will happen due to liberal attitude of the Akbar or the close contact with the Hindu Brahmins and other religious people, except the ulama. Because ulama, at the end, in the beginning, he was very practicing Manatariya. He helped him. And even in the court of the Qadir Vilayim wrote it, in the court, Ahmad Muhammad, this kind of name, we didn't call, and the nickname we called. And Azan, he stopped it. Otherwise, Akbar used to call Azan early, and he cleaned the masjid and all those things. But now he stopped the Azan and that. And he didn't allow them to write the name Ahmad or Muhammad, this kind of name. So these kind of things has happened because of the Akbar's formal education was not there in Bengal proper. That's why he was very liberal there. Although he allowed the ladies to go for Hajj, all these things he did. He sent money out also for the Sharif of Makkah and all those things he did. But overall, his attitude was not very good. But he never himself denied about Islam. Although the Jesuit priests wrote it from Goa, the Christian priests and Padri, they came in your court in Agra and they tried to convert Akbar. Akbar was very clever. He smiles and he listened the Bible with the reading and he smiles. Although they feel that now he got success to change Akbar. But at the end, they got fed up 3 years he stayed. Fed up with, they said that no, this man died his own father's religion. It is hard as to change him. So Akbar has not any clue that Akbar even be better. But anyway, it was too little. So I think so. That is the part of the one of the aspect of the Indian pluralistic society. Although I have other maybe any other way you arrange it within the Thank you very much because The coexistence of Islam, Hinduism, and other Indian religion was long and generally peaceful process over the centuries, punctuated by brief interludes of political exploitation of the religion. Throughout the history of Muslim ascendancy in India, there were clearly two main ideological trends, orthodoxy and syncretism. But justice remained a central priority for both views as an Islamic and Indian requirement in its own right and to ensure social stability in the society. Therefore, ethical concept like al-mulk yakba, malkuf wala yakbi min az-zulm. The realm cannot survive with heresy, but it won't survive with oppression, became a maxim of Indian rulers, including princes, poet, and administrator. The chief ideologue of Puritan reformist trend in Islam, Imam Taymiyyah, elaborated on this concept in his metaphysical observation that Allah yansur al-dawlat al-adila wa in kanat kafiratan wala yansur al-dawlat al-zalima wa in kanat mu'mina. Allah supports a just state even if it is unbelieving, and does not support an unjust state even if it is Muslim. The Quranic injunction and encouragement of justice and freedom enjoined respect for all humans regardless of their religious ideas. Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and liberty to kith and kin, and He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that ye may receive a domination. So these are the things one would accept without hesitation, that the multiplicity of the religious traditions often leads to a variety of understanding, while the essential ethical affirmation of all religious and basically the same, entailing tolerance and inclusiveness. On the other hand, sometimes this multiplicity generates a feeling of denial of every religion, leading to rejection, religious tradition altogether. Essentially becomes the position of the rationalist philosopher and even some poet. Underlying principles of both these diametrically opposed views of acceptance of the idea of multiplicity in society. Alongside the multiplicity of the religious tradition, there lies another related theme: how to understand, adjust pre-existing cultural practices, norms, and traditions in society to accommodate new ideas. In India, the doctrine purists considered the pre-existing practices to be unworthy of adjustment, while pragmatics incorporated some living cultural practices into their own culture, and even their formal ritualistic celebration. The ideologue of the intellectual took an accommodating position on some of these aspects of their ideas were well received in society. Leaders of various segments of society interpreted some of these aspects of their own way, adopting the local dialect to propagate the ideas which were previously confined to the language of ruling elite, it means Persian. So this is the India's early modern composite multi-faith culture evolved gradually, and people lived the reality of living with all forms of diversity within the society. There is a need to understand and coexistence lies the ideological basis that foster the development and evaluation of such a state of mind, whereby elite trends spilled over to the lower rungs of society, and the lived experience of the general population were correlated up to the equivalence of government, religious discourse, and high culture. This is essentially an exercise of to understand the intellectual movement during medieval and early modern times in this region among elites, and how they were experienced by other segments of society, including the leaders and followers of the religions and popular sectarian movement. From the advent of Turkish rule in India, early 13th century, two opposing trends in the higher influence of society are quite noticeable. The pragmatic of the political rationalists and the orthodox scholars who prefer to move strictly along the jurisdictional interpretation, even they were contrary to the thoughts of Quran and Sunnah, who were not ready to take into account any cognizance of the new emerging situation of social development, thus the development of non-accommodative and exclusivist approach. It is to be hoped that in the flux of alienation in modernity, Muslim, Hindu, and other communities will find fuel for tolerance and live love for others in their traditions, following in the faithful footsteps of their ancestors, and not to defame their religious and bequeathed position to their children by asserting the bestial fanaticism of modern nationalists, misappropriate of religious faith and zeal. So thank you very much.